In a small, quiet town on the outskirts of the city, there lived a young boy named Jamal. At just 12 years old, Jamal had seen more hardship than most children twice his age. His life had been a series of struggles, often facing the harsh reality of poverty and an uncertain future. His mother, Carla, was the only family he had ever known. She worked tirelessly as a nurse at the local hospital, doing her best to make ends meet for them both. Despite their hardships, Carla always told Jamal one thing: you can be anything you want to be as long as you believe in yourself. Jamal had a gift. He could sing like an angel. It was a talent that his mother had discovered when he was just a toddler. Carla would often play old records at home, and Jamal would sing along, mimicking the melodies perfectly. As he grew older, his voice became more powerful, and soon it was clear that his singing could take him places. However, despite his talent, Jamal's dreams seemed out of reach. They were weighed down by the harsh reality of their circumstances, but Jamal was determined. His mother had always pushed him to chase his dreams, and he knew that singing was the key to a better life. When the annual town talent show was announced, Jamal knew this was his chance. The grand prize was $5,000, a sum that could change their lives forever. With his mother struggling to pay bills and facing the threat of eviction, Jamal saw this as his opportunity to save her from their mounting financial troubles. On the day of the talent show, Carla, despite being exhausted from her long shifts at the hospital, made sure to attend and support her son. She sat in the audience, nervously watching as Jamal took the stage. He wore a simple but clean outfit, a reminder of his humble upbringing. His heart raced in his chest as the spotlight hit him, but he took a deep breath and began to sing. The audience fell silent as Jamal's voice filled the room. He sang a soulful rendition of a gospel song that seemed to come from deep within his soul. His voice was raw, powerful, and full of emotion, reflecting the struggles and dreams of his young life. As he sang, Jamal's eyes were locked on the back of the room, where his mother sat, her face filled with pride and hope. He was singing not just for the judges or the audience, but for the future of his family. But what Jamal didn't know was that one of the judges sitting at the table was someone from his past, a man who years ago had been an integral part of his life, but whom he had never known as his father. This man, Judge Richard Carter, had left Jamal and his mother when Jamal was just a baby, abandoning them without a second thought. He had no idea that the child he had once fathered was standing right in front of him, singing with all his heart. Judge Carter had been invited to judge the talent show as part of his community involvement. He had been intrigued by the flyer announcing the event, but he had never expected to see someone so familiar. As Jamal sang, a strange feeling began to stir within him. There was something about the boy's voice that struck a deep chord in his heart. The power, the emotion, and the raw talent. It reminded him of something he had long forgotten. As Jamal reached the final notes of his song, the room erupted into applause. The judges stood up, clapping in admiration, and Jamal took a nervous bow, his heart pounding in his chest. He had done it, but as he stepped off the stage, his eyes caught the gaze of Judge Carter, who was still standing. For a brief moment, their eyes locked. Jamal felt a strange sense of familiarity, but he couldn't place it. The judge's expression was a mixture of shock and emotion, as if he was seeing something he had been searching for all his life. After the show, Jamal sat anxiously in the waiting area with his mother. The judges were deliberating, and the tension in the room was palpable. Carla squeezed her son's hand, whispering words of encouragement. "You did your best, Jamal. No matter what happens, I'm so proud of you." The doors to the judging room opened, and the host of the talent show walked in. He smiled at Jamal and Carla, his eyes twinkling with excitement. "We have the results," he announced, "but first, we have something special to share." The host gestured to Judge Carter, who stood up and walked toward the front of the room. "Before we announce the winner," Judge Carter began, his voice shaky, "I want to take a moment to say something important." Jamal looked up confused. He had never expected this. The judge's tone was different, almost personal. The young man who just sang, Judge Carter continued, "has something I never thought I would find again. You see, many years ago, I made a choice that I now regret. I left behind a family that I should have protected. I abandoned my son and his mother. And standing here before me today is the son I never knew I had. The room fell silent, and Jamal's heart skipped a beat. What was going on? His mind raced, trying to process the words. Judge Carter looked directly at him, his eyes filled with emotion. I am your father, Jamal, Judge Carter said, his voice breaking. I didn't know how to find you, but now, here you are, singing for me. I have failed you, and I can never make up for the years I lost, but I want to be a part of your life. Please, let me be the father you deserve. Jamal's eyes widened, his mind spinning. He had always dreamed of a father, someone to guide him and protect him. But this was beyond anything he could have imagined. His mother, too, sat frozen, stunned by the revelation. After years of struggling alone, she too was faced with the truth of the man who had once been a part of their lives, now standing before them. Tears welled up in Carla's eyes as she looked at her son. Jamal, this is... She began, but words failed her. Jamal took a moment to absorb everything. He had wanted to save his mother, to change their lives, but now he was faced with a far more complicated truth. He had a father, a man who had been absent for most of his life, but was now offering a second chance. It wasn't just about the money or the talent show anymore. It was about family, forgiveness, and the possibility of a new beginning. The judge turned to the host, who smiled at Jamal. The winner of this year's talent show is Jamal. The applause was deafening, but Jamal barely heard it. His mind was still reeling from the truth that had just been revealed. Judge Carter walked over to Jamal, his hand extended. I know I can't undo the past, he said softly, but I'm here now. I want to be part of your future. Jamal looked at his mother, who nodded, giving him permission to make his own choice. With a deep breath, Jamal took the judge's hand. Let's start over, he said quietly. I'm ready. And just like that, a new chapter began for Jamal and his mother. The past could never be erased, but the future was wide open. If you were moved by Jamal's powerful journey of talent, forgiveness, and a life-changing reunion, make sure to subscribe to our channel, Expect Stories. For more heartwarming and emotional tales, stay tuned.